Project 2025 has the potential to decimate the financial well-being of our community.
That's a strong statement.
Well, when you dig into this 900 plus page document, you will see hidden amongst the seemingly innocuous, fluffy language, there is a sinister plan to strip Black Americans of all of our protections against greedy corporations and the people who support that greed.
Now I've been listening to my wife talk about all the policies and stuff that since she got involved in politics 20 years ago.
And I've been trying to educate folks on how politics affects every single part of their life for just as long.
So we're going to do an overview of Project 2025's financial tenets and its objectives, the specific financial implications for Black communities, expert insights and opinions from financial economists and coaches, strategies for navigating potential changes and maximizing opportunities. Before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves.
Hey, y'all. My name's Halisi.
And I'm Rick. Welcome to our Black Utopia.
On our channel, we talk about money, we talk about travel, and we talk about retiring abroad as we build generational wealth. We help Black folks who are getting close to retirement age and forgot to plan, get their money straight so that they can retire on time or maybe even early.
Early is always a good thing.
So what we talking about today, sweetheart?
Well, today we're going to say how, finance you prepared that for the coming chaos. You got to get ready. You got to get ready for it because it's coming.
It is definitely coming. But first,
change is coming.
Always. Well, change is always happening. The question is it for the better or not?
I'm going the other way.
Is it for the better or not? But first, if you're new to our channel, then you might not know. Back in 2018, Rick and I got a huge wake-up call. We were getting close to retirement age and we looked at our money. Y'all, it looked crazy. Go ahead, sweetheart. Go ahead.
Crazy.
But we did get our financial act together and we went from negative 22,000 to over 1.1 million in net worth. So y'all, if we can do it, you can do it too.
You can do
All
it.
right. And so if any of this sounds interesting to you, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you know every single time that we go live or drop a new video. And if you find this information helpful, please share it and smash that like button so that YouTube knows that this is information that they need to be sharing with folks just like you. All right, so let's get started. We're going to say hello to the people in the chat in a minute. Project 2025. For those of you who still do not know, and I just can't imagine that there are people who are watching us that do not know what Project 2025 is, or Agenda 47. Y'all, don't get caught up in the titles, all right? It's all the same thing.
All the same thing.
This is a policy roadmap developed by the Heritage Foundation, which is a very, very, very conservative think tank that was created way back in the 1970s. They have been working on this for 50 years, y'all. They've been working on this for 50 years. And this is the game plan for the Mellon Felons administration. Okay. This is the game plan. He can deny it all he wants, even though his name is in it over 300 times.
I don't know what's in it. I don't know what it is. I ain't never read it. I ain't wrote nothing.
Who? What? I didn't do that.
Guess what, y'all? He lied.
He said, psych. After the election, all his folks came out and said, psych.
Made you look.
Yeah. So, yeah, we about to do that shit. That's what we about to do. We're about to do it. So put on your seatbelts. Put on your seatbelts and get ready, because if they are successful in rolling out all of the policies listed in Project 2025, it is going to have devastating effects on our community and especially on our wallet. All right. So the first thing that we're going to talk about are the policing initiatives and how that impacts our financial well-being.
Well, first, we're going to be increased sentencing and mandatory minimums by emphasizing stricter sentences and mandatory minimums for various offenses. Project 2025 would likely exacerbate, you always throw them words in there,
Exacerbate.
exacerbate mass incarcerations. Black Americans who are disproportionately affected by criminal justice system could face higher rates of incarcerations resulting in lost income, legal fees, and long-term economic impacts on families due to the inability to participate in the workforce.
This is by design, folks. All right. This is by design. The United States Constitution has outlawed slavery, except what is the exception? If you're watching from the future, hey there.
Hey.
Let us know where you're logging into. I want to know from the people in the chat, and if you want to leave a comment, what is the except? It has outlawed slavery, except for what? Let's see. All right. So what we know is the Black community has been over-policed since police were created in the United States. And they were never created for peace. They were created to protect property. All right. And at the time they were created, folks from the African diaspora, for the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them were considered.
We were property.
Property. Yeah. Right. And so you've got mass incarceration, which is the only other way that they can enslave folks. So that was the answer, right? You've got $1 a minute collect calls that folks got to make. You got the legal fees, right? That are created from all of this. And here's the thing, folks, the majority of Black folks who are in prison are in because of drugs, right? The whole war on drugs. That was all by design too. And so you would think that, okay, well, we use and sell drugs more. No, we don't. Okay. So statistics show, federal agency statistics show that white folks sell drugs at a higher rate and they use drugs at a higher rate, but they're not policed at the same rate. And so they are under-policed and more likely to be doing the crime, and we are over-policed and less likely to be doing the crime. So this is how it is going to affect us. And obviously, if you take people out of their homes and incarcerate them for whatever, that is going to have a huge financial impact on our communities, on our ability to recycle that dollar within our community for fathers and mothers to be able to take care of families, et cetera, et cetera. This information is from the CBC and the Thurgood Marshall Institute. Number 2, reduced oversight and consent decrees. Project 2025 advocates for eliminating consent decrees that ensure police accountability. Following findings of systemic misconduct. This could lead to an increase in racially discriminatory policing practices, including excessive fines and fees. Here we go again. That's what the whole Ferguson thing was about. That's why people were so pissed off in Ferguson. Fees. So they reduce income. They reduce the income tax, especially for the wealthy. But the government has to run. They got to make up that money somehow. How do they make up that money? Here we go. Policing fees, excessive fines and fees, or asset forfeiture. All you have to do is be accused of selling drugs and all your stuff gets taken away. And then the police department sells it. Sometimes before you even have a chance to go to trial. And now your stuff is gone. It's held up, it's frozen, and you may not even be guilty. So asset forfeiture disproportionately targeting Black communities, further straining their financial stability. Y'all hear that? So what does that mean? Reduced oversight and consent decrees. This is what he's talking about, 100% police immunity. That's what that means. This is the fluffy language. This is the thing that seems innocuous, but that's what that means. All right? That's what that means. Number 3.
Economic strain from criminal justice system engagement. Black Americans already experience a higher likelihood of facing fines or fees related to policing practices under Project 2025's enhanced punitive measures, these costs could increase significantly, compounding existing financial disparities.
All right. So 3 ways in which changes to the policing system will affect our money. That will affect our money. All right. And we know that if a cousin, an uncle, somebody gets caught up in that system, the family has to make up the difference, right? The family is then called to help out. This is by design. This is by design, folks, because the oligarchy needs a permanent slave class. They need permanently poor people to do things that they don't want to do.
Especially if you're deporting a whole lot of people.
Especially if you're deporting a lot of people.
Come on, y'all, makes sense.
Right? Right? Exactly.
They can't deport all of us to Africa.
No, they can't. No, they can't. All right, let's see who's in the chat. Y'all know the routine. If you have a question or a comment, please put a Q. And okay, that's weird. Okay, give them to me. Okay, yeah, the software was doing something really weird. So put a Q in front of your question or comment, and we will be able to put it up there. So Maele, I think Maele is the way you pronounce that. It's good to see African Americans coming to Africa because it's their land too. Feel free to stay with us, guys. And that looks like a South African flag.
They got to really, really, really make us comfortable because, you know, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah. But I never felt that in South Africa.
No, not in South Africa.
I never felt that in South Africa. And I think that's a South African flag. It's kind of small.
Yeah.
Hey, Allison, good to see you. CK.
Hey, CK.
Hello, everyone. Winnie B is in the house. Love and prosper. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, ABX girl.
Hey.
Pinky is in the house. Serene Wealth. Good evening, OBU Nation. Pray you are keeping well. Yes, it is definitely nighttime here, and maybe afternoon where some of you are. Hey, Shaquan. Well, we know she is here in Portugal, so it is definitely nighttime for her.
Yeah.
Yvette, blessed and highly favored. We are so happy to hear that. Karen Louise. Strength and honor from California. Robin Smith is in the house. Action BJ. Hey, y'all.
Action BJ.
If you're here getting this knowledge and ignoring the trolls today, hit that like button.
Please.
Hit that like button. Yeah. I put some extra things so that only certain people can comment. So you have to be subscribed, and you have to be subscribed for 30 minutes. So if they want to stick around for that long, just to add some nonsense to the mix, we don't care. Hey, Vanessa, good to see you.
Vanessa.
Shanora is in the house. Hey, Halisi and Rick, HOBU family. Hope everyone has had a great weekend.
Did we get Allison?
We did get Allison.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm sure we did because she was up here too. See, she was way up there.
Okay.
Yep. Greta Cobb is in the house. Greta. Good day, Utopians. Hello, Halisi and Rick. So the Gretas helped us so much on the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit.
Yes, they did.
And so if Portugal is the place for you and you think that you might want to move here, you need to purchase the replays to the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. It is in the description below. Michelle Lynn Thompson. Hey there. Seems like a new name. Welcome. Hey, KB. Good to have you here.
Hey, Professor.
Professor's in the house. Hey, Vicky. Good to see you.
Dakota Strong.
Dakota is in the house. Boa tarde, minha OBU familia. Pit House 40. Seems like another new name.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. Hey, Jan. Happy Sunday to you too. Pit House. Hey, Jan. Good to see you. All right. Valerina, K. Stewart. What is this one? Black Cat
Yoda.
Kyoto.
Okay.
I think. We are so lucky Halisi worked in politics. I don't know if I am, y'all. I don't know if I am. So I see all of you guys. Another new name. And Jackie's Journey. Hello.
Jackie.
Laura and Deidre. Jerry is in the house. Stephen is in the house. We love you all. Thank you for being here and making sure that we get this information. All right. So we just talked about how the policing system is going to affect our pockets. There's no surprise there. Y'all know that once people get put into the system, it's so hard to recover from that. It is so hard to recover from that. So now we're going to talk about how their education initiatives are going to affect our pocketbook. So, number one,
Reduced higher education funding. So they want to reduce it.
yeah.
Cuts to federal student aid programs, such as Pell Grants, could make colleges less accessible, reducing opportunities for upward mobility.
When you get rid of the Department of Education, you get rid of a lot of things that the Department of Education does, right? And people like it's so disheartening to hear folks say, "Oh, but my child has special education. He's on an IEP's on an independent education program because he's got ADD or ADHD, or he's on the spectrum, or she's on the spectrum, et cetera, et cetera." And it's like, yeah, well, that funding's going away. And that's what you voted for. That's what you voted for. So here's the thing: reduced federal funding for HBCUs. So federal support for historically Black colleges and universities might be severely diminished, undermining efforts to address historical underfunding and potentially leading to increased tuition. No surprise there. Or limited resources for students. This would disproportionately, obviously, affect us who are seeking access to higher education. Y'all, our HBCUs offer us many, many, many more scholarships than traditionally, predominantly white colleges and universities. Okay? They just do. I participated. I was part of a program back in Denver where we invited HBCUs to Denver because this is how sinister folks are. This is how sinister. At East High School, I think it was East High School. At East High School, the one of the counselors who was receiving all of the information to give to students about HBCUs, she was throwing them away. She was throwing them away. The Black janitor found all of this stuff time and time again in the trash and went to talk to one of the Black teachers about it and said, this is what they're doing. And they are just totally ignoring a part of the population of this student body. And so she started this program, back in the 70s or 80s, to introduce HBCUs to Black students, right? Because they were not getting the same type of opportunities at predominantly white institutions. And so every other year she was inviting the HBCUs to Denver. And then on the opposite year, she was doing HBCU tours and taking the kids with her. And I know from that experience that folks who were not getting scholarships when applying to predominantly white people were getting full rides. They were getting full ride scholarships at our HBCUs. So you want to know how defunding the Department of Education is going to hurt your pocketbook. This is how. This is how. Also, the privatization and school choice. So what are those policies about?
Policies promoting school vouchers and privatized education could divert funding from public schools, which serve the majority of African American students. This might exacerbate, I got it right there.
Yes, you did.
Disparities in education quality and limit long-term earning potential.
Part of our ability to earn, right, is having a good education. And I know how I wanted to start this. I wanted to start this whole session off by asking y'all, why are poor people poor? Why are poor people poor? If you're watching from the future, I want to know in the comments why you think poor people are poor. Because white folks will say every single time it's a lack of education. Really? So if that was your answer, just erase that. Just erase that. Because then why is it that a Black woman with a master's degree makes less money than a white boy with a 2-year degree? If it's education. right? Why is that? So, how is privatization and school choice going to hurt us? Here's the thing, these vouchers, they are not going to pay for a $10,000 a year school. They're not. They're not. They may give you 5,000 towards it. Now you got to come up with the other 5,000. If your students were on qualified for student meals, for student lunch, right? For school lunch, you probably ain't got that 5,000 per kid. So then what? So now you're stuck at the local public schools that have been severely defunded because the money is going towards sending other people to private schools. How this helps our community is beyond me. Number 4, loss of federal education grants and oversights. Programs like Head Start for preschoolers and Gear Up, which aim to prepare low-income students for college, could be eliminated. Such cuts would likely widen disparities in access to advanced educational resources and college prep, which are already more limited in high poverty, predominantly Black school districts. Obviously, it's not necessarily the case in Black middle income and higher earner districts, but still. Right. But still, you could be in a family that are high earners and still be a first generation college person.
Right.
Right. And so with that, your parents may not know, or those parents may not know how to properly prepare their kid for college. And of course, all of the resources that existed to try and make up the systemic racism that exists within America are going to go away. Number 5.
State level variability in education quality. Without federal oversight, the quality of public education could depend entirely on state budgets and priorities. This might exacerbate existing disparities in states with less commitment to equity, further limiting economic mobility for Black students and families.
Think the Deep South, y'all. Like, they can't afford to even exist, right? Like, they can't afford their programs. They can't afford anything on their own. They can't. That's why, New York and California subsidize the social safety net of the deep red South. And now, with more cuts coming, it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even worse. And then you leave, like, curriculum and all of that was always handled at a state level, but there still was minimum requirements that they had to meet. They also want to get rid of the accreditation department. So how do you know if a college is accredited? Like, if it meets certain standards, the standards that you need to get that, like, how do you even know if there's no reliable accreditation agency? What are they doing? What are they doing? Impacts. Okay, so getting rid of the Department of Education will also impact school discipline and civil rights protections. We know that Black and brown kids are overly disciplined for the same infractions that their white counterparts do. Oh, and poor kids as well. So Black, brown, and poor kids are overly disciplined for the same infractions that their white counterparts do. So we know that if kids in the 3rd grade, if in preschool, this is even at the preschool level, y'all. They have found this study. It's even at the preschool level where Black and brown kids are overly disciplined, leading to a lack of confidence, leading to poor school grades as they go on from kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And then by 3rd grade, they're under grade level. You know what that means? That means build another cell in a jail for that person. Again, impacting our community's financial stability. They're getting them young. They're getting them young, and it's going to be even worse. We always talk about the school to prison pipeline. What is it going to be with no oversight? What is it going to be? So, increased economic strain, a lack of access to quality education and federal financial aid could lead to fewer Black students pursuing higher education, limiting their career opportunities and earning potential in the long term. In the long term. So, in summary, closing the Department of Education will likely deepen existing inequalities, limiting opportunities for Black Americans, and increasing financial burdens, particularly for those reliant on affordable education and federal aid programs. And now we're going to talk about the tax policies and other general policies that will affect our wallet. But first, let's see what y'all are talking about. Must be nice. Just got back from vacation in Italy.
Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, LinkedIn user, why it's not bringing your name up. So I'm not sure who this is. I'm not sure who this is, but thank you. Thank you so much.
Usually there's a thing that you have to get permission. I know for Facebook it was doing that too.
Yeah, since the USA 11/5, November 5th, hard stop country crash, I've become more fiscally conservative. We have to. We have to. Just like we said last week, y'all, we need to remain financially nimble. Or I think we said that on Thursday. We need to remain financially nimble, okay? Now is not the time for spending all this money on Black Friday, Christmas, Cyber Monday, or any of that stuff. Now is the time to save and invest, save and invest, save and invest, because they are trying to take us back to the 1940s.
For real.
For real, for real. Perhaps more Black Americans will begin to participate in jury duty if they can afford to take the time off.
Or if they're in country, because you got a jury duty thing the other day.
Did I get a jury duty thing?
Yeah, I don't know why it came in my mail.
Okay.
My email, because I had one months ago, but
I guess I got to let them know. Yeah, so about that jury duty, Halisi will not be showing up.
I guess they can come.
For those of you who don't know, we live in Lisbon, Portugal. I know some of you. We have a lot of new subscribers. MASH 2031. So prison is the reason. Is this the answer to why are poor people poor? Why are poor people poor? Or my other question, if it is for why are poor people poor, those in prison,
Yeah.
Okay. That was my question too. Slavery is against the law, except. Right. Y'all got it. Y'all are on it. Claude Constant, new name, except for felons. Exactly. All right. I'm looking for other questions. And of course, CK is always on top of it. Slavery was never completely abolished in the US, right? Imprisonment was the exception to allow slavery to continue, which is why we have mass incarceration. Right? It's the new form of slavery, right? For any of you who did not read Slavery by Another Name, you definitely need to read that. Blacks could stop over-policing by serving on juries and on police oversight boards and letter writing to police chiefs and sheriffs so they know that their constituents are watching and will vote. Yes. And so the police oversight boards, I'm not going to say every county that I've lived in has had a citizen comprised police oversight committee.
Yeah.
Now, how much teeth it has or doesn't have depends upon the mayor and the city council members and their power or lack of power over the police union. However, at least, it is a step in the right direction. But YouTube people do so many. White.
That's clever, white.
That is, they do so many drugs. They are using drugs we've never even heard of. Look, I went to Beverly Hills High School, y'all. I remember hiding out in the nurse's office trying to pretend like I didn't feel well because I didn't prepare for this test. And so I'm like fake sleep. And these two girls are over in the other cot. and I'm listening to what they're saying about the drugs that they are in the nurse's office because they're too high to go to class. And we're not talking about marijuana. They were talking about all these pills that they took from their parents' cabinet
Cabinets,
and
yes.
all this other stuff. I'm like, dang, who are these people? Who are these people? Like, this did not happen in my neighborhood. Not like this. No. First of all, wasn't nobody's mama on Percocet and whatnot back in the day. Is Sandra Pinto?
Pinto, Sandra Gomes Pinto.
Yeah, it's Sandra Gomes Pinto. It's not Gomez. It's Gomes, and it's pronounced Gomes. A good company to work with. Yes. All right. So Sandra Gomes Pinto is
She's an attorney.
Yeah, immigration attorney. Her company was one of the sponsors of our Move to Portugal virtual summit last year. The dumbing down of this country is astounding. They have no idea that they are making this country a third world country that will be unable to compete on the world stage.
Oh, they know it.
Like, I don't know. Like, why? Why would they want that?
Dumbing down the masses
so that they can stay powerful and in control and really create another Gilded Age where you've got 4% of the population having everything and the rest of us down there at the bottom.
Yeah,
I guess. But see, that's not sustainable. It's
No.
not, especially not sustainable in an economy that is driven by consumerism. If people can't afford to buy stuff, how does that work? How does that work, y'all?
How does what's happening in the U.S. affect Portugal indirectly? Well, I mean, Europe is looking, to see what the hell's going on with the U.S. because of NATO. What kind of policies the melon felon is going to enact and push out. So, Europe gets kind of nervous too when that kind of stuff happens. I think they are more or less taking more of a lead in the NATO situation just in case.
Yeah, just from what we've seen on the local news, it does seem like they're stepping up to like exclude America, just to go forward. Now I can't say that anything has been passed for exclusion. But we've seen the rhetoric, we've seen what they're saying on the parliamentary floors, and they're like, all right, I guess we count them out. The other way that it's going to affect us is that if indeed he allows, Putin's got something on this man. I don't know. Like, just the fact that when the news agency was congratulating the Russian news agency was congratulating the melon felon, they had nude photos of his wife on the screen behind them. And they were trying not to snicker. Like, they think that these people are a joke. There is absolutely no respect. There's absolutely no respect. So whereas we see Portuguese people on the street saying, well, maybe the melon felon is just crazy enough to stop crazy Putin. No, Putin has no respect. Putin's not crazy. He's sinister. He could be evil, but he's not crazy and he's not stupid. He is not stupid. So the concern is that they will continue and just go ahead and absorb Ukraine and then start marching west.
Yeah. So it's been more of a like I was saying, it's been more of a European concern than a Portugal concern.
Yeah.
So we haven't really heard anything or seen anything that's changed in Portugal because of his election yet.
Yeah.
But he ain't in office yet.
Right. And when all of these things start rolling out, it's going to impact the world, right? Because the United States still does have one of the biggest GDPs on the planet. And a lot of folks, right? Not as many as India, not as many as China, but I would probably argue that the average salary, even adjusted for conversion rates, et cetera, is probably higher in the United States than those other two countries today. today. So yeah, this is going to have ripple effects around the world. Black people are some of the most educated people, right? That's why they're jealous, right? Like, can you imagine, like, you stole some folks from another country and they made it all the way across the Atlantic in horrible conditions and they survived. You stopped them from learning to read and write. You made sure that people from the same tribe weren't put together so we couldn't keep our language, right? We couldn't keep our customs. We kept pieces and fragments of them, but for the most part, our customs and everything that we brought from the continent disappeared, right? And then literally, what, 64, 74, 84, 94, 2004, 44 years after the Civil Rights Act, after the Voting Rights Act, you have your first Black president. They're like, how in the hell did they do that? How in the hell did they do that? Right? We see, and here's the problem, y'all. Here's the problem. We had the Negro League back in the day. Y'all know that, right? We had the Negro League. A lot of those teams were owned by Black folks. Of course, all of the players were Black. The moment we started integrating, we lost all of that. We lost the stadiums. We lost the owners. We lost everything. The same thing that happened when we integrated the education system. Now, do I think the integration of the education system was a bad thing? Not necessarily, but the way it was done was bad because our middle class back in the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, a huge chunk of that were teachers and principals, right? And the administrators for the Black schools. And it's not like white folks were coming to the Black schools. No, that's not what happened. That is not what happened. Like, that might have happened in the 70s, but by that time, a good chunk of our Black teachers have been unemployed. Right. So we've got to get back to supporting our own communities. And that's why, if you weren't here on Thursday, Black Project 2025, Google it and get involved. Black Project 2025. This young lady, this entrepreneur, came up with a what if. She came up with a what if. And that's how our Black Utopia was born. It's like, what would a Black Utopia look like? That was the question. And that's how our Black Utopia was born. Well, she did a what if, and the result was Project 2025, and they've raised a boatload of money, and they're getting ready to get this thing going in support of Black businesses, Black professionals, et cetera, et cetera. So you remember we used to have the Green Book back in the day, right? To make sure that we weren't caught in a sundown town.
You had to make sure that Green Book gave you all the information you needed when you were traveling across and down south of this country.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that this is going to be similar but digital, etc. So it is all coming together and has all started since November 6th, and they are rocking and rolling. It sounds like all reliance on government services will be eliminated. Yes, now is a good time to create systems and resources to support and uplift our own. I think of Khan Academy. Yes, so this is the thing that has been missing. This is the thing that we did not pass down to our kids. Since the 60s, the federal government has been our main form of protection, right? We had the Civil Rights Division. If you look at equity and inclusion or non-discriminatory practices, we were overrepresented in government jobs because that was the law and they had to follow the rules, right, to set an example for private companies. And so we were always overrepresented since the 70s in the government. Now, why is it once we become overrepresented in the government, does the Republican Party start saying government is a problem? Does the Republican Party start saying smaller government? They weren't really touting that before we were overrepresented. Mm-hmm. They were touting not wasting money, but not a smaller government per se, right? And so FDR obviously expanded the government tremendously. But Eisenhower didn't try to contract it because he realized that having all of those policies in place helped expand the middle class. And then we got to 50% of Americans being middle class, coming up from poverty into middle class. Now, obviously, we know we as Black folks could not take advantage of all of those policies at the time. But they did start to open up in the 60s after the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, right? And so we got 20 years. We got 20 years, and that's all. And then Reagan came. Even at work, Black people are held to a different standard. Exactly. Exactly. Right? We've got to work twice as hard. And, if I ever had, oh, Antoine, okay, cool. If I ever had a, a job at those huge corporations where there's tons and tons of middle management, I wouldn't be working twice as hard. I'd be keeping my head down and doing just what's necessary not to get fired, because these people are crazy and they want to work you to death, and take advantage and take your ideas for no compensation.
Yeah.
I used to get on him about that all of the time because Rick was the trainer in chief. Rick could take someone who was about to get fired and make him into somebody or her into somebody who was going to get promoted. That's how good of a trainer he was. And they never acknowledged it and they never compensated him for it. They just kept sending him folks who needed help, just kept sending folks who needed help. And Rick will handle it. So in other news, Asian students sues university because enrollment of Asian students went down. And must be because of their race. No, it's not, Asian students. It's not because of your race, right? It is not because of your race, because y'all fought to get rid of affirmative actions in universities because you thought too many of your spots were going to Black folks. But Black folks' enrollment in these schools have not plummeted like y'all's have. As a matter of fact, they're basically the same. Not great,
Yeah.
but not worse. But not worse, right? What we have done a poor job, Black folks, what we have done a poor job in doing is reminding everyone who is not a white straight male that our blood, sweat, and tears for the Civil Rights Act, our blood, sweat, and tears for the Civil Rights Act helped them more than it helped us. All these immigrants voting against their own, like y'all wouldn't have even been allowed in the country if it weren't for us. All right. Y'all wouldn't have even been allowed. Okay. And that's what's so funny. It's like y'all come here and then want to treat the people who fought to get you the right to come here, want to treat us like the oppressors treat us. You know what? Sorry for the duplicate post. I want California Governor Newsom and New York to say no more federal dollars, right? I was thinking about that too. We are keeping the money, right? Y'all want to get cute up in this mofo, right? Y'all want to get cute? We got something for you. Saving every dime until I can get out of here. Grands will be getting books and one other item. We started giving books a long time ago. A long time ago. I'm going to tell y'all something. You know what I'm going to say. I don't trust adults who don't have books. or a Kindle or something, right? Like, what do you mean you don't read?
You don't read.
What is that? In spite of the MAGA adverse intentions, I choose to think of this time as an opportunity to choose our own people who are free to exercise their freedom and support others for self-sufficiency. Right? Like my only concern, CK, like I think that this is our time to make money off this bitch. All right. Y'all hear us? Like how can we make money off of this? But at the same time, what really concerns me especially is the police immunity. That and what we're going to talk about next. So for all of us who have Black children in America, all of our children are adults, y'all know that. But that is what concerns me. And not only that, white folks getting bold. White folks getting bold, walking around with their neo-Nazi gear on, getting in black folks' face. Like, don't they know who we are? Like, we some scrappy individuals getting up. Wait, what? Shoot. FAFO.
I think they know who we are.
FAFO.
I think they knew who we are. I think we don't know who we are.
Yeah, well, when some people get in their face, they get clocked. So
Well,
from that standpoint,
you adjust and you learn real quick. But I was watching a comedian.
It knocks smooth the out.
I was watching a comedian. He's I know he's from Nigeria, or his family's from Nigeria, but he was talking about he went he had to go to the Japanese what's the name of their mafia?
Okay.
Uh,
I don't know.
but anyway, he met with like one of the top leaders in and I can't remember the name of it right now, but and the guy said, you know, you black people, you're in first in everything. People want to be just like you. Fashion, sports, you're just great in everything you do. The world wants to mimic you. They want to be like you. He said the only problem is you guys can't come together.
So this is our time. And you know, it's easy for him to say that, right? Because his culture was not decimated. Africa is not a country. Japan is a country. Africa is not a country, it's a continent, right? And we all come from different parts of it, and all of that culture has been decimated. And I know all of, you know, everybody watching has read the Willie Lynch letter. Now, we know that the veracity is probably not there, but what it is saying is definitely there. And so they have done a number. The oppressor has done a number on trying to pit light skin against dark skin, old against young, males against females, the house Negro versus the field Negro, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Like, they have spent 200 years doing that. And because grandmama and them didn't want to talk about what went on, there are a lot of us who don't really understand the implications and what that has done to our psyche. But I know, you know, my dad used to say, everybody wants to get next to the magic. Everybody wants to get next to the magic. And when I go out in these streets and I see these Portuguese kids, whether they're Brazilian Portuguese, whether they're African Portuguese or European Portuguese, they're out there doing our dances in the streets, you know, breaking, crumping, and all of that stuff, right? For money and all of that. And I'm like, what company would be good research as far as working in Portugal? Tina, we do not suggest that Americans come to Portugal to find a job.
No.
Okay. So moving abroad, and we've done lots of videos on, you know, moving abroad, and we'll continue to do more about moving abroad. But when you're moving to a place that has a lower cost of living, it usually has a lower cost of living because the salaries are lower. Okay. The average Portuguese family person makes 1,500 euro per month. Not per week, per month.
You don't want to come here looking for a job.
Which is about $1,650 a month. All right. So what you want to do is you want to get a 100% remote American job, making that American money, and then you bring that to another country. All right. And then you come on like a D9 visa. If you're a W-2 employee and they've told you can work from anywhere, then it's the D9 visa that you will be looking at, as well as digital nomads, entrepreneurs. That's the D9 visa. Okay. So everyone that we know, there's only one person that we know who has a little part-time job here just to make some extra money. But 99.9% of everybody else, they either are retired, living off of a pension, or they're entrepreneurs, right? They have their own company, or they are working for an American company or a global company.
Yeah.
Right? And then they get to live here. So that's how that works. Like the Birmingham boycott, right? They will miss us when we are economically empowered, self-sufficient, and won't return to the old ways when we are invited back. No. Nah, I mean, obviously, it's hard to stay away from public transportation in the long run, but we can certainly not support those businesses who didn't support us in perpetuity. In perpetuity. The only thing, I won't even invest in them. I will not invest. I don't care how much money. Some people will, and I'm not mad at you. I'm really not mad at you. I don't want to try to shame anybody, but like Tesla, they'll never directly get our money. Never, never. Not if I have control over it. Now, of course, they're in some of the index funds that we have, and that's just what it is. If I have a company, I know I will not look at a person with an education in America. I will look for people with a more diverse worldview. Y'all, okay, we're going to talk about it next. We're going to talk about education next. Or part of the education thing. I think we just forgot. Actually, we already talked about it, but why wasn't it in here? It's like something got missed, because I had put in here when we talked about getting rid of the Department of Education and how this affects our money. I want our HBCUs to survive. I think that every Black child should go to an HBCU, at least for undergrad. Go to Harvard for your master's, right? Like, go to Harvard, or one of those, if you think you need Ivy League, let that be for the graduate degree. But the undergraduate, especially when these kids are not growing up in as insulated as a community as we did back in the day, right? So yeah, you can get a bachelor's degree here in Portugal at an English speaking university for about 6 to 7,000 euro for the whole thing, not per year, for the whole thing, for the whole thing. Trying to get this up. Let me come here and do it. There we go. Thank you, Flores.
Thank you, Flores.
Thank you for the super chat. Super thanks money. I'm considering going back to Portugal from the States. How's the climate there with Shega? Yeah. And whatnot. I'm honestly lost. I work digitally. Flores, we don't feel the effects of Shega. They've got a lot of billboards up, interestingly enough, but the Portuguese folks are don't seem to be that concerned. Now, are they being naive? I don't know. We'll see in the next election. They gained a lot of seats this last election, but they're still very, very, very much in the minority. Mm-hmm. And the just right of center, center, and just left of center and left have partnered together in a lot of stuff and are voting as a bloc to block Chega. So that's what I understand from my Portuguese friends is happening right now as far as politics goes. So, but yeah, so I don't think there's anything more to say about that. All right, I'm trying to get all of these in before we go on. Has anyone thought about this clown? If the clown dies
in office and Vance becomes, I put that scenario together. I don't think he's going to last the whole term.
He doesn't think he's going to last past a year.
I don't think he's going to last the whole term. I won't say he won't last more than less than a year, but I don't think he's going to finish the term. And, everybody's saying, well, is he going to run again in 2020? I don't think he's going to be around to do that.
I mean, technically right now.
That's my personal thought. That's my personal opinion. I think that's one of the reasons why, even though he was controversial, that Knucklehead became his VP.
He's worse.
He could, yeah.
Vance is worse.
Because that's what's his backer? What's his name? Peter Thiel. That's Peter Thiel's boy,
right? Heritage
only job he's ever had was working for Peter Thiel.
A hedge fund, right?
Yeah.
So that strike one, right? Yes, we talked about this, Stephanie, last week, that China and India's GDP is double ours, is growing at double to triple the rate of ours, and triple. All right. So yeah. Vance is worse because he comes off slick. He comes off slick and he comes off very polished. So he says the same kind of nonsense that the melon felon says, but he wraps it around some sophistication that can have people thinking that he's a normal politician when he's not.
And I wonder, how much are you guys hearing about Vance now because we don't hear anything about it.
Yeah, we don't really hear anything about it, but we haven't been
Even in
looking
the
either.
news cycle, I haven't seen or heard anything. It's like he's disappeared in training or something.
He's plotting. All right, Amber Anderson, do you think we will have time to get out in the next year or two? Project 2025 will have a detrimental effect on Black and Brown folks. I know, Amber, which is why we're doing this. It's going to be very hard for them to roll out 100% of the policies on day one, right? Like it says, and I downloaded. You can download it. You can download Project
Yeah,
2025, right? I've got a digital copy. It's free. It's out
you
there.
can download it. You can. There's a book that you can audiobook on 2025. Project 2025 audiobook.
There's also a podcast series on a fictional lie. It's fictional, but it's taking the policies of 2025 and then what would happen to these characters under these different policy changes. I had to stop listening to it. I was in tears. I was like, oh my God, here we go. So they say that this is a 180-day plan, which is half of a year, right? But I don't see they have so much disagreement amongst each other, and so the things that are the worst for American citizens, like reduction of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, that's going to be hard for them. That's going to be hard. They're going to have to frame that in terms of efficiencies, privatizing. You know, when Bush tried to privatize it, he almost didn't get reelected, right? But that was then, and this is now. So, and people are so ignorant that they don't realize, like, what do you mean Obamacare is the ACA?
Yeah, that's yeah.
So
You got to be vigilant. You got to keep your eyes open. Educate yourself.
exactly. So yeah, I do think that that we have a bit of time before. I think we have a bit of time before the fit really hits the sham. All right. I think immigrants don't necessarily. I think their first thing is going to be this deportation thing. Halisi, my mom said integration was one of the worst things that happened to the Black community. The way it was done, yes. We were not fighting for the right things back in those days. Integration was not what we should have been fighting for. We should have been fighting for equity. We should have been fighting for economic opportunity, not integration. We should have been fighting for the right to travel across the country and be able to stay where we want without the threat of getting unlived, right? That's what we should have been fighting for. So I'm just marking these questions, and then we're going to move on. Yakuza. That's the name of the Japanese.
Yes.
The Yakuza.
And I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name of that comedian because it was what he was saying just made so much sense.
Yeah. Thank you, Paula. We see you. So it's funny because I'm still getting comments, y'all. I'm still getting comments in for last week's when I was trying to think of Ludacris's song, "When I Move, You Move," just like that. I'm still getting comments telling me what it was. So I think that is hilarious. So for those of you who do not know, our super thanks, super chat, and super sticker money all goes to our scholarship fund for Beyond the Bling. That's our financial freedom course for late bloomers like ourselves. Everything that we learned in getting from negative 22,000 to over 1.1 million in net worth, we are teaching, and things that we have learned since then, we are teaching in Beyond the Bling. It's a self-paced course that comes with monthly live Q&A with both Rick and myself. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what that was. So thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much for the super sticker, super thanks. Thank you for live today. I'm considering pulling my entire 401k out before the Orange Menaces takeover. In his first term, it got hit bad. During Biden's term, it came back strong. Take care. You know that's right. And then it went down. So, I mean, it went up during the pandemic. It went up right after the election. I have seen some softening of the market, but like we said last week, when they move, we move just like that, right? So, what I'm doing is I'm really, really watching every single day, reading Morningstar and other finance, like Yahoo Finance and stuff like that, and seeing who is selling off what and large quantities. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. Because why? Because I only know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. Right. And
Sure.
so I know the Warren Buffetts of the world eat, sleep, drink this stuff. Like I used to eat, sleep, drink politics. So I'm going to watch what they do. Now, does that mean I'm going to invest what they invest in? No, because some of it is a moral priority not to invest in some of the things that they're invested in. But okay, I think we've got all of the questions starred. Um, Blacks are away looking to the plantation house and thinking white folks always do things better and know better, talking about integration, right? Right? My dad used to have a joke. He say a black guy would come up to him and say, "Hey man, what time is it?" And say, "It's 1 o'clock." Huh. And then they ask the white guy passing by, "Hey, what time is it?" He said, "Oh, it's 1 o'clock." He said, "Oh, Negro was right. Negro was right." That is the colonized mind, right? And unfortunately, too many of us still have that colonized mind. Green Book is digital, online, and for Black-owned services worldwide. So, yeah, I heard it was digitized, but Black Project 2025 is going to be something bigger, different, and made for this century. So, y'all check it out. Wakanda was considered an undesirable land and people. Outsiders just didn't know,
Mm.
right? We have helped everyone. We have. And the biggest beneficiary of the Civil Rights Act were white women,
Hmm.
white women. And this is the kind of stuff that they would do and are still doing. So, a certain amount of contracts, federal contracts, state contract, well, state to state, that's different, but county contracts, if they have this in place, have to go to businesses by groups that have been traditionally ostracized, right? So businesses owned by people of color and led by people of color or white women. So what white women would do is they would put their name on everything, but their husband would be running it. And then they get the contract and we wouldn't. That's the kind of stuff that I saw working in politics and working with the departments of economic development. So Jasmine Crockett reminded some House committee this week who we were. It was a mic drop. She always has mic drop moments. She always has mic drop moments. I'm going to have to go look. I'm aggressively saving cash, investing in the stock market, and paying off all debt.
All right.
All
All
right,
right.
Greta. And that's what we all need to be doing. Halisi, Beverly Hills High was on the news the day after the election. The white kids marched down the hall with red hats. Oh my God, what has happened to my school? Oh my God. It was the exact opposite back in the day, y'all. It was the exact opposite. You think that I would have faced a lot of racism and this and that and the other? No. It was the majority of the kids there were entertainment industry
Hmm.
kids. They were the kids of the television producers, the movie producers, executive producers, high up at the networks, senior vice president of this and that. That's who the kids were. So I couldn't imagine any of them being MAGA, any of them. Well, maybe one or
Well, all
two.
them folks moved to Calabasas.
I guess so. I guess so. A question: do you recommend to pull the entire 401k balance out before? Yeah, no, I don't think so. The last time he was in, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we need to. I think we need to be very strategic and watch. Okay, because think about it. These white folks cannot afford that either, right? And so they need the stock market to do what the stock market does. A lot of these companies are global. They're not just United States companies anymore. So I did a chat GPT question. If 20% of African American people left America, ooh, and the major impact it would have. People, please do this report and share it. Ooh, Anita, that is a good
Yeah.
query. That is a good query. That might be a show. That might be a show. We'll see. We'll see. I agree that Black Americans are the ones on whose shoulders all of us immigrants are standing. Thank you, Claude. Appreciate that. I am Haitian and I know that. I'm assuming that you're also Black. I watched other ethnic groups not recognize that because of their own ignorance.
Right.
Yes. Thank you, Claude. Parlez-vous français? How can we, as enlightened expats, invest in African startups with Black financial advisors? Hey, I don't know if it's Tace or Tase. That's a good question. I would start by watching Ashley in Africa because that's what she does.
Yes.
Ashley in Africa, spelled with a K. She helps 6 and 7 figure businesses get started in Southern Africa. So that's where I would start. She's a smart woman. Black parents have to be open to their kids pursuing a European education. Yes. Yes, definitely. Is it possible? Is it possible some countries may consider an influx of Americans like as a bad thing? ABX girl, there, perhaps
Depends on how big the numbers
I
get.
think it's going to be Mexico, right? Because that's where the majority of folks go. Like Americans here are only, there's only like 6,000 to 7,000 Americans in the whole country, much less Black Americans. So we're not the ones. They're not paying attention to us. I've deleted apps and unsubscribed notifications, or deleted, I think that's what you meant, Winnie, and unsubscribe notifications from those naughty lists. I have told friends and family as well. Good. Be selective where you spend your money. If you need to save money, unsubscribe from all of those emails, y'all. All those emails, sale, all of those. Unsubscribe. Take your credit card off of those sites. So you want to make it easy to say no, right? You want to make it easy to say no. Do you have any reason to even visit the States? Yeah, most that bounce don't even think about returning from past men. Like, if I had my way, we would never go back. But our kids are there. My parents are there. We have property there. So unfortunately, yeah, we do. All right, let's move on. And then we will get to the rest of the questions. So I know we have more that are starred, but I want to talk about tax policies favoring high income earners. So in Project 2025.
So regressive tax cuts?
Regressive tax cuts. Okay.
If Project 2025 emphasizes tax cuts for corporations and wealthy individuals, African American households which have a lower average income and wealth compared to other groups may see minimal direct benefits. Simultaneously, reduced federal revenue could lead to less funding for services and programs that support low and middle income communities.
When I was a kid, my mom and dad were both working, and when we qualified for reduced lunch. Because back in those days, you did not have to be in poverty to get help. Right? You could be, my mom was still a student at the time, so I think she was only working part-time, and then my dad was working full-time. And we had a house. Well, the bank owned it, but we had a house that they were paying the mortgage on, and we qualified. But see, as soon as white folks started to learn that Black folks and other folks were benefiting from these programs as well, they're like, oh,
get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it. They're just sucking off the teat. They're lazy. They're this, they're that. Never mind that your next door neighbor is also benefiting from it. Like, just burn the whole thing down. So the problem with regressive tax cuts, our taxes actually went up with the Trump tax policies. It went up. It made it easier to figure out how much we would be taxed on because it was as close to a flat tax as you could get. But our taxes went up. And I told y'all, neither one of us ever made $100,000 from a W-2 job, ever. So that means that we are straight up and down in the middle, and it hurt us. We started owing for the first time. and it hurt, right? So if there is less income, then there has to be less expenses. So state and local impact, reduced federal funding might force state and local governments to cut programs or increase regressive taxes like sales tax, like tariffs, right? The government has to make the money up somewhere. Either that or they fire half the force, right? Half of the government employees. Because they ain't gonna stop investing in the industrial war complex.
Yeah, military complex. Yeah.
War complex. They're not, right? So what else is on the chopping block? So obviously, when you switch from having a progressive tax system where the more you make, the more you're taxed, and you instead say, you know what, we're just going to base the tax on consumption. That's how they get you. It's a tax on consumption. You only pay taxes on what you consume. That sounds good until you think about it, right? That means we're going to get our money from sales tax. If you only make $50,000 a year, you will be paying a higher portion of your money on consumer goods than the person who lives off of $500,000 a year, right? The person who lives off of $500,000 a year is not buying 50 pairs of jeans. They don't need all them jeans, right? So, whereas this tax would only affect maybe 1% of their income, for the $50,000 earner, it's going to affect a third of their income, if not more. That's a regressive tax when it hurts the people who make less more than it hurts the people who make more. Not that taxes are a pain. Taxes are necessary to provide services for the common good. Why they want to have a country club, but they don't want to pay dues is beyond me, right? You got to pay dues to belong to the country club, right? So if we want, like here, in Portugal and most of Western Europe, taxes are high. I'm not going to lie, taxes are high, but you will not go broke getting sick. That's what's not going to happen, right? They have universal health care. So I see where the money is going. Now, is there waste? I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is because it's government, right? But at least I can see how we're investing. So for instance, the one person that I told you who works for a Portuguese company, when you get sick, you still get 60% of your pay. That's where our tax dollars are going to here in Portugal. I suppose you can claim unemployment insurance, but not unless you're totally laid off, right? You've got to be laid off. You got to tell your job to lay you off in order to get that. Because if you're just sick for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you can't work, and you work the kind of job where you've either run out of sick time or you're hourly, you ain't getting paid. You are not getting paid. So there's going to be a reduction in corporate taxes, lowering the corporate tax rate from 21% to 18%. Y'all, back in the days when we had the biggest middle class, the corporate tax rate could be as high as 90%. And there were still companies flourishing. So, because nobody pays 90%, you got write-offs.
Correct.
You got write-offs and stuff, right? So lowering the corporate tax rate from 21% to 18% aims to stimulate economic growth by encouraging businesses to invest. But that's not what they did. They didn't do that the last time he lowered the corporate tax rate. They did not invest in R&D. They did not hire any more people. As a matter of fact, they laid off people. And then the other thing that they started doing is buying back their stock. That's what they did with all of that extra money. They bought back the stock. Forcing less, that means less shares in the marketplace, which means it raises the value of each share. So all they were doing was increasing shareholder value. I want every single person who is watching us right now, if you do not have a 401k, but you have access to a 401k at your job, now is the enrollment season. Enroll. If you can only put in $5 a week, put in $5 a week. Yeah. And then each week increase it by 1%. All right? Increase it by 1%. And then by this time next year, you'll be 12% higher. right? You'll be 12% higher if you do it once a month, 52% higher if you do it once a week. So, um, so lowering the tax rate for corporations does not mean that they're going to hire more people, because they didn't do it last time. So what makes us think they're going to do it this time, right? That doesn't mean people are getting a raise or anything like that, because they didn't do it last time. So what makes us think that they're going to do it this time? So while this could support job creation, it might also lead to reduced government revenue. No, it's not. It is going to lead to reduced government income, right? Potentially impacting public services once again. There could be an opportunity. This could be an opportunity, a good opportunity for small businesses, though. Okay, because a corporation is a corporation. A corporation. If you have an S corp, you can have an S corp and only have you and your husband as employees, for instance, right? And so this could benefit entrepreneurs. Everyone who's watching, get your side hustle on. Okay, don't just choose to do an LLC. Can you make that go away? Don't just choose to do an LLC. Talk to your tax person to see which an LLC or an S corp, which one would be better. Okay, they both have different tax outcomes, especially if you're planning to move abroad in the future. So, okay, where were we? Sorry, y'all. All right, there we go. Long-term impact of these tax cuts.
A shift towards a consumption-based tax system could simplify taxation, but may disproportionately affect lower income Americans who spend a larger share of their income on essentials.
You know what I just said? It's a regressive tax, y'all. It's a regressive tax. Places like Texas, places like Florida, places like Missouri, right? They have low income tax. They have to make it up, and they make it up on fees, right? You get a parking ticket. They make you come into the court to get rid of the parking ticket. You can't just pay it online. So for all of those folks who are working hourly jobs, now they got to take off work. Okay, that affects our wealth. They got to take off work, trudge over to the courthouse. And usually for those kind of violations, there's no appointment. You just got it first come, first serve. So you just got to sit there while everybody else goes before the magistrate or the judge to either pay the moving violation or the parking ticket, or to try and beg for community service, once again, taking away time from making money, right? And then if for some reason you can't show up, or you're on public transportation and the buses are on strike, or you miss the bus, et cetera, now you got a fine. And it was a $50 violation that just went up to $200. You can't pay that. You could barely pay the 50, right? Now it's 200, really can't pay that. And now you've got to go back to court to try and work out a payment plan. But by that time, the fee might have doubled again. This is what they do. This is what they do, okay? They shift the burden away from the millionaires who can afford to pay a little, and I mean multimillionaires, right? Who can afford to pay a little bit more in taxes, and they shift it on to poor folk with the over policing, with fees for every single thing. Like I said, they got to make the money somehow to pay for the cops, the firefighters, et cetera, et cetera. Now just think about it. Just think. A shift towards consumption-based tax system. What would that look like with the police department and the fire department? Does that mean the people who can afford to pay for firefighters, their house gets saved, but the other houses don't?
Burns, yeah.
Because the last time I checked, having a police department that is paid by the masses, regardless of whether you ever have to use it in your whole entire life, right? Regardless if you ever have to use the fire department, is paid for by everyone. I think that's called socialism. Oh yeah, isn't it? It's socialism. Y'all, these fools. All right. Reduced funding for social programs. So once they start cutting these taxes again, now don't forget, we are currently under the Trump tax system from 2016. The Mellon Felons tax system from 2016, it's still in effect. They never were, it sunsets in 2025, and they expect to revive it. or put worse policies in place. So cuts to the social safety net. Proposals to reduce government spending could lead to cuts in programs like Medicaid, food assistance, known as food stamps, or SNAP, right? Housing subsidies, known as Section 8. And then there's Section 8 for those who are kind of in poverty. And then there's affordable housing subsidies for those who are working class to middle class, right? So all of that goes away, disproportionately affecting, obviously, African Americans who have been systemically cut out of the housing market for years. Some of this deregulation, we know that the neighborhoods that we live in, they always want to give our houses lower value. If we live in a multiracial neighborhood, or if we live in a white neighborhood, but it's the Black house in that white neighborhood, we have to take our pictures off the wall, all of our artwork out of the house, so that when the appraiser comes by, we get a fair appraisal. The department that makes sure that all of that stays kosher is going to be decimated. So we're going to go back to the days of redlining. That's what that sounds like to me. That's what that sounds like to me. So let's, if you were thinking about buying a investment property, now is the time. Now is the time. All right. Now is the time before they start with the real discrimination. All right. So cuts to social safety nets. So Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act depends upon the expansion of Medicaid. So back in the day, Medicaid was only for folks who were really in poverty. With the ACA/Obamacare, they raised the cutoff for Medicaid so that you could be making, a lower income or middle to low income and still qualify for the ACA if your job did not offer healthcare, right? Or if you're an entrepreneur, making, 40, 50, 60,000, you still might qualify, depending upon how many kids are in your family, for free ACA, basically because of the Medicaid expansion. Now, the Medicaid expansion only happened in the states that adopted the ACA.
Right.
So when people are complaining that the ACA is just as expensive, it's probably because your state did not adopt the expanded Medicaid. So if you all remember, in the beginning, the federal government, Obama, said that we will pay for the expansion. So let's just say the block grant was already covering any family that made 30,000 or less. And the ACA said, we're going to expand Medicaid to say 50,000 or less. I don't remember what the exact numbers were. The federal government was going to pay for all of the people for the first 3 to 5 years who were in that in between, that 21,000 to $50,000 group. The red state said, no, thank you. No, thank you. We don't have any poor people. No, thank you. So that's why they have jacked up systems. And then folks like in Colorado and California, we have better systems, whereby right now I'm paying $2.90 a year for coverage. Right. And I still have Obamacare because it's less expensive than getting travel health insurance for when we go back to the United States. So that's why we still have that.
Okay.
So cuts to social programs. What's the next one?
Healthcare access.
We're just talking about this.
Scaling back provisions of the Affordable Care Act or Medicare expansions could leave many African Americans without affordable health care, increasing out-of-pocket expenses and reducing financial stability, higher medical debt, and worse health outcomes.
It's already bad enough that we don't get the same quality of health care as other folks in general. We don't. The American Medical Association has said and shown that with their surveys. We don't. The best chance is to go to a Black doctor to get good health care. That's your best chance. And that's not even because of colonized minds. That's not even necessarily going to be a guarantee. The nationwide abortion ban. All right. So now we've got more medical debt because ACA is going away, more medical debt. We've got people getting kicked off of their insurance. We've got people who with pre-existings who are going to be uninsurable. All of this is going to affect our pocketbooks, y'all. We're talking about the money, all of this. Now we've got to add to that a nationwide abortion ban. That's going to lead to two things. Well, a few things. The first thing is that people, the second most common reason that women get an abortion is economic. It's economic. They already have kids. And a large portion of them are married with kids and say, we cannot afford another kid. We were taking all the precautions and still my fertile hind got pregnant and we cannot afford this. We just cannot afford this, right? So that's going to go away. Obviously, we've seen that women have been dying because of sepsis, because the procedure that takes a dead fetus out of a woman's body is called an abortion, right? It's the same procedure. And so women are dying. Again, leaving families without that income, leaving families without that mom, right? We see how this is going to affect the pocketbook. And then the third way is criminalization. We're already over policed. We already have a higher maternal death rate, mortality rate, right? Black women have a higher maternal mortality rate. And now you are forcing women to carry to term who may not be physically able to carry to term. And the doctors are too afraid to do anything to save her because they don't want to go to jail. Add to that, places like Texas, if the nation does what Texas wants, you could be put in jail if you have a miscarriage and you had a glass of wine. They're going to call that murder. They're going to call that murder. All right. So once again, once we get sucked up into the system, we know what that does to our financial stability in these households. We know what that does. Right. And just for the arrest, you could lose your job because now you're in the system and this and that, and you're missing work. Right. People can be losing their jobs because they had a miscarriage. This is going to put Black families in financial straits, and it is a disaster waiting to happen. So I talked about the criminalization, interstate travel costs. Until they do a nationwide ban, which they're going to do, Black folks are having to travel to neighboring states to get the health care that they need. So again, affecting our wallets. For every dollar that we have to spend because someone else wants to tell us where and how we can get health care, that's a dollar we can't invest, right? That's a dollar that we can't save. So what's the next thing? And then we'll stop there and get to some questions.
Environmental deregulation. Policies weakening environmental protections could disproportionately harm African American communities, which are more likely to live near industrial zones or in areas with poor air quality and water quality.
So why does this affect our pocketbook? Because it makes us unhealthy.
Makes us sick.
Makes us sick, right? It makes us unhealthy. And this is what they do. This is what they do. That's why the kids in Michigan were drinking lead water, right?
I was going to say, think of Flint, Michigan.
But there's lots of Flint, Michigans all over the country.
That's what we just
in
heard about.
In the richest country on earth, right? And we can't even drink the water.
I still don't think they can drink it.
I'm not sure that they can yet either. But there are dozens and dozens of Flint, Michigans all around the country making our people sick, making them sick, taking them out of the workforce, unable to make that money, unable to get financial independence, remaining eternally in the slave class. It's diabolical, and it is by design, y'all. It is by design. So cuts to Social Security. and Medicare could disproportionately harm African Americans who tend to rely on Social Security 100% at a higher rate than any other group. I have no idea what's going to happen with my mom and dad if they do this stuff. I have no idea. So we'll figure it out because everything is figure outable. But right now, I have no idea. All right, let's get to some questions. Thank you so much for everything. When is your next in-person summit in Portugal? So we don't do in-person virtual summits. It's virtual. And so then I'm not sure we're going to do another summit in 2025. We'll have to see. But our next in-person meetup is the week of Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. So that's when we always do it, the week of Juneteenth. If you can come the week before that, it is St. Anthony's Week, and there are street festivals going on, well, really going on the entire month of June. But the big ones here in Lisbon are the week before Juneteenth. And it's a party, y'all. It is so much fun. It is so much fun. So I did that one. Question, do you have a residency in Portugal to go to college in Portugal? No, you don't have, yeah, yes and no, right? You have to get a student visa. You have to get a student visa, but it's an easy process. You just have to basically show that you have been accepted, and they will rush your visa through so that you can get here before the semester starts. I've deleted, okay, read that one. And then Yoga Bliss, can we focus more on what we should do to prepare? Yoga, you always trying to dictate what we do. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Where was that? Let's see. Are we at the bottom? Are we at the very bottom? Yeah, I think so. Florida water is nasty. So this is why now my daughter, you cannot talk about what to do if you don't know what's coming. Right? Like I could talk in abstract about all of this stuff, but it's in relationship to what? What's the context?
Right.
Right? This is why now my daughter, her fiance, and my husband are now making plans of getting the heck out of here. So that they want kids, but she doesn't want to die in Texas, right? That's a possibility. So Yoga Bliss, what my answer is going to be: get out. Get out. That's what you need to do. You need to get out, especially with the over policing, right? That's the one thing you got to leave. I would not be living in the United States. I'm going to support Black Project 2025. I know that some people, can't afford to leave right now, but that's what I would be doing to prepare. I would be saving and investing every single penny. I would not be spending not one dime on anything that is not needed. And we've been saying that. Not one thin dime. You have to remain nimble. I would start researching, as we have talked about in the past, how to invest in different currencies. And I'm not sure about cryptocurrency, but I'm talking about other countries' currencies that have a more stable government. That's what I would be doing. I would be researching how to invest properly in precious metals. That's what I would be doing. I would also be getting a gun and going to the gun range. But you don't want to hear all that. You don't want to hear all that. Exactly, Laura. Exactly. You might have put this before. We said nationwide ban on abortions. It's crazy. Over policing could be curtailed, but the over police take no action to curtail the conduct. It's like a frog in a boiling pot is what I think. You just get used to it, and you think that this is how it is.
Yeah.
You just think this is how it is, and that's not. And it's not until you move to another neighborhood where you're not in the majority that you're like, okay, wait a minute. These people ain't living the same way, right? I'm in a blue state, California, 5th largest economy in the world. Yep. Should the blue states secede and move on?
They're probably the only ones that could afford to
Exactly.
succeed.
Exactly. Exactly. So, all right. We've got two more areas that we want to talk about: labor and consumer protections. Proposed changes to the labor laws could make overtime pay more flexible for employers, but might reduce overall worker earnings. They're talking about getting rid of mandatory overtime. That's what they're talking about. Additionally, plans to dismantle agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau could affect protections against predatory financial practices. We know that, especially when it comes to loans, that Black folks have gotten the short end of the stick. That's why there were all of those class action lawsuits, right?
Right.
We walk in with a decent score, and yet we're given a loan at a higher rate, right? So we already know that. Now, if you deregulate the industry, it's going to be even worse. So minimum wage policies. If policies discourage raising the minimum wage, many African Americans who are overrepresented in low wage income jobs may struggle to keep up with rising living costs. I would move to a state that has already adopted, like Colorado, a $12 to $15 minimum wage. That's what I would do. Housing and urban development is the last part.
Gentrification and affordability. Deregulated housing policies might lead to increased development, but without protections for affordable housing, many African Americans could face displacement or rising housing costs.
Just like we said earlier, redlining could be back. The other thing that could be back is the notion that agents do not show some properties to Black buyers. That was a practice. That's how they got around stuff. They just wouldn't show those houses to you, where the owner says, I only want to sell to a white person, right? That's against the law. It's against the law, but they still do it. And if it's deregulated, then they're going to do it more. Right? So weakened because they are talking about getting rid of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. So a lot of these things would be regulated, would be double checked by that department. But if they get rid of it, then there's nobody policing these agencies that can just do what the heck they want to do. Weakened anti-discrimination enforcement, and that's what we were just talking about. Reduced enforcement of the fair housing laws. Fair housing laws don't mean diddly if there's not someone to enforce it. Could worsen systemic barriers to home ownership and affordable renting for African American families. So that's why I said, if you are thinking about buying a piece of property for investment, I would try to do that sooner than later. I would try to do that sooner than later. And like Allison says, we need to have multiple streams of income, y'all. That's another answer. We need to have multiple streams of income. We talk about diversity when it comes to investing. There should be diversity when it comes to your income streams as well. Rick and I have always had multiple streams of income. We've always had a side hustle. Thank you, Megan Smith.
Thank you, Megan.
As you know, 100% to our scholarship fund for Beyond the Bling. What are your thoughts that things won't be that bad? This is just all fear mongering. America will be just fine.
We'll see.
And they paid to make sure. So thank you. And our community thanks you.
It's not fear mongering.
Look, I'm just telling you the facts, okay?
That's it.
The Project 2025 says what the mandate is, and it's called a mandate for new leadership.
Or they want to go back?
Right. Make America great again. Make America white again.
That should be fear mongering. That's scary.
That's the scary part. Like, this is what you don't understand, AJ, is that in 1980, Reagan enacted 40% of Heritage Foundation Project 1980. Bush did the same thing. Bush 1 and Bush 2 did the same thing. The Heritage Foundation has been there. In 2016, Trump enacted about 60% of the Heritage Foundation recommendations. So what is to make us think that he's not going to do it this time? Read the book. Read it. If you get rid of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, every single time there is a police department that has a lot of issues with over policing and killing innocent people, who's going to investigate that? The thing says it wants to give police immunity, and he has said that. The Mellon felon has said that. So how are we fear-mongering if we're just repeating for people who may not know what the Mellon felon said and what Project 2025 says? It says it wants to give police immunity. It says it wants to get rid of the Department of Education. If you don't understand what the Department of Education does, then perhaps it is fear-mongering.
What did he say? All we need is to take a day and just let the police
have at it
and do what they want.
A purge.
Yeah, he said that
out of his mouth.
And if nobody heard that, if you didn't hear that and understand what he was saying,
that's on you, baby.
Yeah, you ain't got to listen to anything. You definitely ain't got to pay to not listen to anything.
So. But like, I'm listening to white men who are economists, like Richard Wolff, who are saying America is not going to be just fine if we continue on the same path. So this is not wisdom according to Halisi and Rick. This is wisdom according to the experts. Now, if you are of the mindset, and I'm not saying that this is you, AJ, if you are of the mindset that there are no such thing as facts, then I don't know what to tell you. But in the real world where adults live, there are a such thing as facts. The world is not flat. The earth is not flat. It is round, right? It is a globe, right? It's not flat. And just because the flat earth society exists does not mean it's so. So there are certain indicators that say America is not on the right track and has not been ever since Reagan. As someone said, the GDP of some of these other countries is doubling and tripling us. So fast forward 10 years from now, what's that going to look like? What's that going to look like? But we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with right now. And I'm telling you, the things that are in Project 2025 can have a huge economic impact on Black Americans. All right? It can. And the only way is if they are not able to enact some of this stuff. But if they do, this is what's coming. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Believe them when they're going to do it.
Like if I tell you, if you say that to me again, I'm going to sock you in the jaw. If you don't believe me, that's on you. Right? That's on you. The man said what he was going to do. I said what I said, right? He said it. He said it. He wants to purge. He says you don't even have to vote. He's got enough votes. He said he wants police to get immunity. He said he wants to get rid of the Department of Education. He's said, a national abortion ban. Then he walked it back. Then he walked it back forward and walked it back and forth and back and forth. Look, he said he was proud of what the Supreme Court did. He was proud of it. He was proud that women are dying. How is that fear-mongering? People are dead because of his policies. Y'all forgot how many people died during COVID that could have been kept alive, but for thinking that you can drink bleach or do whatever, and put some light on it or something.
Shoot up bleach and
right?
shoot up.
Our memories are so bad.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people died that did not have to die. Property taxes supplement low revenue states also. Really, CK? I thought they don't in Colorado. at least in Denver County, 100% of our property taxes go to, besides paying for the government, to our schools and to the cops and the firefighters. But I don't know how it is in Cali. So what's the solution? Just talked about that. I was working on my side hustle all weekend. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, right, Allison? We need to be making the money, making the money. Find ways to use all of the gifts that God gave you. Find ways to use your expertise, whether it was a hobby that you're an expert at or something professional, and make that money. Make that money. That's the solution. Stop spending, save, invest, find multiple streams of income. Start selling the crap that's around your house that you're not using. All right. We need to simplify our lives and remain nimble, because if they decide to go to a police, and get your passport.
Please
get your passport today. Like today, go online and start the application process, right? Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, get rid of that crap and invest in yourself. Reinvest in yourself the right way.
Exactly. All right. I just got to give a shout out to Megan. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Again, like, I think it's so funny that this person paid money to put the fear mongering thing up there. That's just hilarious. But hey, it goes to our scholarship fund. So I'm happy about that. That's more Black folks who are going to get financially free. Have you noticed mainstream media is saying the Dems lost because of wokeness and abandoning the working class? Working class is code for white people, right? Because there's no Black working class. Yeah. So I don't listen to what the mainstream media says about stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They want to pick it apart when they are the reason that the melon felon is in, because they treated him like he's normal, instead of reminding people we're about to elect a 34 count felon to the United States presidency. That's what we're about to do. So Megan, as far as leaving the Dems, there's nowhere else to go right now. We have to reverse the course and then talk about creating something different. But there's two parties. You can vote with MAGA, because the Republican Party, as it was back in, does not exist anymore. So you either vote with MAGA. You can vote Jill Stein and all these people all you want. They're never going to win. You're never going to have impact. They're not doing anything. You're never going to have impact, right? So to me, there's only one choice today. Once we get back in, first of all, then we're allowed to protest, because they want to start, using the military against protesters. Kent State, right? Remember Kent State? So they want to start doing that. Democrats don't do that. They don't put the military on protesters. All right. So we can hold their feet to the fire. And then collectively, after we regain some protections, we can start talking about supporting a third party. But that's not going to work in the short term. It takes a while. Okay. It's going to be a Democrat or a Republican or a MAGA Republican, and you get to choose. That's the choice we have today. Now, tomorrow we can change it, but you don't change it by not having power. Right? You don't change it by not having power. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to get the last of these questions. Lady, that seems like a new name.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Teddy.
Hey, Teddy.
Rosemary. Black Cat. Isan One. Good to see you in the chat, Isan One. November tacos. Okay.
Why don't you what? The hell?
What's your end game here besides talking about racist shit? November Tacos subscribed, waited for 30 minutes to be able to say this. So By definition, November Tacos, Black people cannot be racists. You have to be in power. You have to have power to be a racist. We can be bigoted, but we can't be racist. Only the white power structure can be racist. Okay? So, talking about race, talking about the fact that African Americans are disproportionately affected by certain policies is not racist. It's fact. So, thank you for helping us make money by being in the comments, because every time there is chat in the comments, YouTube doesn't know that you said something that's kind of like an asshole thing to say. They don't know that. They just know you said something. And so they're going to show this content to more people because you said something. So thank you for that. And our community thanks you too. Goodbye. All right, y'all. I'm just trying to mark all of these. I'm sorry. But you guys have a lot of questions and there's 900 people watching. So please hit that like button if you found this information educational, if you now have a better understanding of what the possibilities are, what we need to be. I last week or the week before, I gave you guys the phone number for the switchboard at the Capitol. Call your rep, call your congressperson, call your senator. Every time they start trying to, this is another thing you can do. Every single time that they try to pass this stuff down, y'all start a tree, get your WhatsApp groups, your text groups, your email groups, and all of that, and tell everybody to call the switchboard at the Capitol and tell them, you don't want this, you don't want that, you don't want this. And keep it going while you prepare to exit or to put yourself in a financial position. Like some people are not going to be affected by this stuff because they have so much money that they can be immune, right? We would like for all of the people in our community to be in the same place. I tried, so thank you, Flores, again for the super chat. We really appreciate it. I tried to talk to a Trump supporter before the election to offer a different perspective. She went ahead and voted for Trump. My empathy's gone. Say what you want. Deal with your consequences if you voted for him. Like, right? Like, I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong about all of this. I really, really would. The unfortunate part about it is I don't think we are. I don't think we are. Over policing could be curtailed. Okay, we talked about that. And we talked about that. Blacks have a huge financial impact on the US. Yep. They just don't know or understand it. Yep. Especially as consumers, unfortunately. But they're going to see. They're going to see. If you didn't watch Thursday's live, watch it. And we talked about, and y'all, I'm getting to the emails. If you know of a Black-owned business that we should be supporting, send an email, hello@ourblackutopia.com, and we'll add it to our Black business owner list. Okay. This is why now my daughter, her fiance, and my husband are now making plans of getting the heck up out of here. See, they want kids, but she doesn't want to die. Oh, I did read that. Yes. And it's interesting because a lot of husbands that were risk averse and saying, I don't know if I want to leave America, they've changed their mind lately. What should I, and fear mongering. Is it fear mongering when the news shows neo-Nazis marching down the street? Like, this is what's happening. When we see videos of white folks telling Black folks, you're going to be put in your place, you're going back to the plantation. This is happening when somebody got a hold of a list of Black children's cell phone numbers and texted them saying, after school, go home and pack because Monday you're getting taken to the plantation to pick cotton.
That's fear mongering.
That's fear mongering. That's fear mongering. What should I tell my husband that's 60, no assets, and trying to buy a 20,000 Lincoln MKZ?
Ask him what in his ego makes him feel that he needs to spend money on that. What's in his ego that does? Because does he really, really, really need it?
20,000 for a Lincoln is not that bad.
That's not that bad, but
still,
there's a reason she said what she's saying.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know,
He needs to take that 20,000 and put it in the stock market is what he needs to do, you know. Um, like I would ask him, does he want to work until he's dead? Because if you keep spending money
stuff.
on things that don't give you a return of investment, that do not um, um, grow in their value, in their worth, like a piece of property, like stock, then you're going to have to work until you die. And tell him you don't want that for him. You want to retire. You want to enjoy life. You guys have earned it at this age, right? You've earned it. And so why is he trying to keep y'all on the plantation?
Is he making money off that Lincoln?
Yes, he do. Is he Ubering it? What's he doing?
What's he doing?
My primary source of income at 77 is Social Security. I plan to sell my home, pull out the equity and invest it, and move to a country with a lower cost of living. Do it, Rosemary. Do it. People are living their best lives. It feels so good to be able to just sit in the park and not worry about some Karen coming over to me, ask me why I'm barbecuing, or to sit in a cafe and not have some Karen ask me, why am I still sitting here when my coffee's gone, or whatever have you, right? We can walk up and down neighborhoods and nobody says, what are you doing in this neighborhood? No matter whether it's down in Cascais where they've got huge Beverly Hills style homes, or we're in the hood. Nobody asks. No one cares. We are not suspect here. Yes, my white male neighbor has been telling me I need to get a gun.
If you're in the United States, yeah, you kind of do need one.
We had some.
Yeah.
Which residency route is quicker in Portugal, D7 or digital? I think they're both about the same. They both basically have the same requirements. It's just a difference in how your income is coming in, right? So for those of you who don't know, the D7 visa for Portugal is a passive income visa. So dividends, pension, anything that you didn't work, any income that's coming in that you don't have to put in time to get, is passive income, right? And then the digital nomad slash W-2 employee type visa is a D9. And, you still have to have all the other requirements. It's just a difference in the income. I think they take basically the same amount of time. The only one that's quicker that I know of is the student visa, Isan one. I just found your channel. Thank you, Janan.
Oh, thank you.
Or is it Janan? Janan. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm so bad. I just found your channel. I love your energy. I will be leaving the US in 2026. That is my deadline. Thank you for all that you do for the community. You are so welcome. We are here because you're here. Seriously. When will tickets go on sale for the meetup? I miss you guys. Hey, Paula.
Hey.
Probably right after the holidays, because y'all know we're going to Thailand and I don't want, it'll probably be around the holidays or just after the holidays, something like that. Blacks think Trump and Stephen Miller cannot envision their own final solution for us. They adore Hitler. Just saying. I listen to what they say and then I watch what they do. I watched what they did last time. So not just what they say, but what they did. And, when he said he was going to do a Muslim ban, he did a Muslim ban. He did it. He said he was going to build a wall. He tried, right? Mexico didn't pay. No one cares, but he still tried, right? He was putting kids in cages. Like, how is this not fear mongering? Like, that's the fear right there. Cops will go buck wild. You're absolutely right. Some of them have already lost their minds anyway. I don't think we were ever meant to be a part of the American society. So they have been implementing policies to wipe us out in every way imaginable. No, the founding fathers did not imagine a multiracial democracy. It did not even occur to them, right? Black Panthers have our backs this time. No Black Panthers have our backs this time. Yeah. I mean, they would just go on the FBI watch list and call it a terrorist group. I mean, under Trump, they call BLM a terrorist group. Have you and Rick considered moving your lives to Blacks with Global Passport so OBU can be a no troll zone? No. No. I know she's on another platform, but I think it's more important that it is more important that more people have access to this information than it is to, block trolls. We're not concerned about them. If a person rejects facts, what are they excited to return to, right? History would be
Right.
rejected. So what again, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. It's so nonsensical. And they get so caught up in the loops that they can't even say coherently what they support and why, besides this person who they just feel like is a celeb and is going to make them rich. Do you think the USA is similar to Nazi Germany? Yes. Yes, it's been 100 years, y'all. It's been 100 years. Things go in cycles. And I'm not the only one who is saying that. I am not the only one who's saying that. I started saying it a year ago, but it is other folks who really study history, who are historians, who are saying that as well. Would you consider a membership? Say, yeah, I just read that one. Thank you, CK. So we have a private Facebook group. It is called Our Black Utopia Fire Over 50. And so that is a private space. It is a safe space. You don't have to be over 50, but you do have to be from the African diaspora. You have to be Black or married to somebody who's Black. It is a safe space where we would talk about all of these things and more, and without people saying that we're racist. But I don't care what they say. I couldn't care less.
I know what I am.
Right? I do too. I don't care. I don't care. Right? I know I like human beings in general, but there, there's something special about white Americans. White Americans and Australian Americans, maybe because so many of them are the descendants of people who were kicked out of Britain, that I don't know. Maybe it is because they know deep down inside they don't have the moral high ground and they have to deal with that, right? Like it's easy to go through this treacherous world when you know your heart is in the right place and you're trying to do the right thing, right? You have the moral high ground. We are not colonizing people. We are not, for the most part, putting people down because of the color of their skin and stopping them from getting opportunities. Black folks ain't doing that, right? And not in any way that would change the lives of the white community. Like there might be one person over there and one person over there, but by and large, we don't have the power to do that, right? So we ain't doing it. So when you have the moral high ground, it's easy. We are getting our daughter's fiance her passport as a Christmas gift. We'll be ready to go. I love it. I tried to pay for our youngest sons, but we're here. I can't walk him to the place. Question: can you put a link to Black Project 2025 in the chat? I think just Google it. I think I did put it in last week. So after this is over, I can put it in the description below. I'll go to the link that I had from last week, and or Thursday's live short, and put it in this one. But yeah, Charlotte, I can do that. So if you're watching from the future, it should already be there. But if you're watching live, do you think non-MAGA Republicans still exist? Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. I do. Can you please stop giving attention and energy to the crazy posts? This is what they want. Don't even put them on the screen. Greta, thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat, super thanks. All of the money goes to our scholarship fund for Beyond the Bling. That is our self-paced course that is for financial freedom, right? If you need to get your money straight, if money is the thing that is keeping you in the matrix, that is keeping you living in a country that really is not treating you well, if money is the thing, then you need to join Beyond the Bling. It is very, very, very affordable. It is only €127 today. Thank you, Ginger. Should I renew my passport even with an expiration of 2030? No, you can renew your passport in whatever country you go to. And I don't think that they will allow you to do that.
Well, not this soon.
You have to be within like 7 or 8 months or something like that.
You got to be closer to renewal date.
Exactly. And actually, it probably will be faster if you're planning on moving out of the country. I know that the folks who were going to the American Embassy here to renew their passport, they were getting a turnaround time of like 3 weeks, which I heard in the United States is 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Now, they might have sped it up, but again, when the melon felon gets in and he starts decimating and firing half the people in the government like he says he's going to do, if he does that, then it's going to take even longer, y'all. So get your passports today. Get them today. All right. I'm sure after this, you still have many more questions. So if you want one-on-one help, there's information to talk to us one-on-one in the description below. We told you about Fire Over 50, our private Facebook group for folks from the diaspora. We've told you about Beyond the Bling. We have a meetup group coming up in June for Juneteenth. And so with all of that, we love y'all. Hit that like button. If this is content that you like, please hit that like button so we can share this with as many people as possible. Our community needs to come together to support each other, right? We need to support each other. We need to be supporting Black businesses. And that's what our Black Utopia is all about, y'all. That's what it's all about. So you all are so incredibly giving. I just thank you so much. We thank you, Bling Prodigy.
Thank you.
Bling Prodigy. Your channel popped up in my stream today. So first timer, I appreciate your knowledge, patience, and humor, even with the trolls. Thank you, Bling Prodigy. We really, really appreciate it. And Paula, thank you, thank you, thank you. We so appreciate y'all. We really, really do. Becca, thank you.
Becca.
Y'all are so sweet. We really appreciate it. And again, we do not keep any of this money. We give it away to folks from the community. Y'all, you email us if you need a scholarship to Beyond the Bling. Send us an email. You do not have to tell us why. We are going to take you at your word that if you're asking for a scholarship that you cannot afford to pay for the course, okay, in its entirety. And so thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you for supporting independent media and for supporting our community. We really, really appreciate it. So you don't have to tell us why. We don't need a sob story. Just send us an email, hello@ourblackutopia.com. Be patient because we are leaving town in a day. So be patient with the response. But with that, we love y'all and we're going to let you go.
Yeah.
Bye.